If you're one of those Linux users who's always confused about Linux groups and permissions, this video is for you. If you just stay till the end of this video, I promise you will clear this concept and you will not have any doubts anymore about groups and permissions on Linux. First, we have to understand that Linux is a multi-user system, same like Windows. And to understand the reason why it is a multi-user, we have to go back to the history. In the past, like 1960s and 70s, due to lack of resources, Unix, which is the parent of Linux, was built to be multi-user because computers were expensive and not everybody could afford them. But nowadays, it is not like that anymore, even though in some cases, people still use it as a multi-user system like universities and labs. Now that we know why Linux is a multi-user system, let's talk about who these users are. So as normal, the same way that we have an administrator in Windows, we have the root user in Linux, which has all the power. Second, we have groups too in Linux because it was used and is still used in universities, companies and governments. There should be group users too. And lastly, there are other users that are neither admin nor group, but literally other individual users. For the root user, we use the U as short, for the groups G, and for the other users O. I will put it on the top of the screen because later on I will show you something very important, so just remember them. We have three types of users. Let's talk about the second important topic in Linux: permissions. One of the most important things that differentiates between users in Linux is the permissions they have. Obviously, the trust level that is on the root user is not the same as that on other users, or else each user could do anything with the system if that wasn't the case. So here is why we have permissions. In Linux, we have three types of permissions. R, which stands for read, it refers to being able to read the files and directories in Linux. Next, we have W, short for write. It refers that with this permission, a user not only can read the files but also write to them. Thirdly, X stands for execute, which means that if somebody has execution access, they will be able to execute the files and make changes to them. So remember, we have three types of permissions: read, write and execute, and again I'll put the short form of them on the top of the screen because later on we will use them. Now that we already know we have three users: root user, group user and others, it is time to show you how to find the users and their permissions in files. So here I will show you two things. Firstly, how to list the permission of the file or the directory that you're trying to use. That is by using this command. So you just need to write ls for less and then l flag, and then whatever directory that you want to see, you'll have to write the path of that. So I'm just using the root. Now, the very first column is also called the permission column, where we could see the permission for different users. It starts with LD or a dash, and the very first letter here indicates the file type, which if it starts with a D, that is a directory. If it starts with a dash, that is going to be a normal file, and if it starts with a L, that is going to be a symlink. But moving on, you could see three sets of rwx. The very first set of rwx is for the root user. As you could see here, the root user has the read, write and execute privileges. The second set of rwx is for the groups. So again, you could see that the groups also have read, write and execute privileges. And the third set of rwx is for the other users, which for this specific directory, the other users also have the privileges of reading, writing and executing. And the second directory, as you could see, it starts with a D, which is again a directory. rwx is for the root user, which has all the privileges. But under the group permissions, you could see that there's a dash between R and X instead of being a W, which means that the group users does not have the access to write into this file. And the same way, if we go here under the CD-ROM directory, we could see that the root user has the permission to read it but doesn't have the permission to write into it, and also the group user also can't write into it, and same goes for the other users. So that's all regarding the users and privileges and how to read the permissions from the permission column. Now there are two important commands that you need to learn for changing the ownership of a file and also changing the permission. The first command is chown, which is also called change owner, and this is used for changing the owner of a directory or a file. And the second command is chmod, which is also called the changing the mood or changing the permission of a file. Let's just go ahead and work on these two commands to have a better understanding of them and to know how to change the owner and permissions. First, let's just go ahead and create a file in our home directory. So I'll just open my home directory. As you could see here, my new file is created, file.txt. Right now, let's just go ahead and check the permissions for this file. So the very first column is the permission column, but I will come to this later. But this port, which shows Mansoor, the first Mansoor is the owner of this file, which is the main user or the root user right now, and has the ownership over this file. And the second Mansoor is the group which has the ownership for this file. So right now, to show you how to change the owner and the group for this file.txt, I will just create a group and then we'll just go ahead and change the owner to a different user and also change the group. Now my group is created. Let's verify whether it is being created or not. As you could see, our group is being created. Since I already have a different user in my system, I will skip the user creation process because I already have a user called Max. Now I want to add Max to the group students. Let's verify if it's added. As you could see, the group is being added to user Max. Now coming back to the main point of changing the ownership for the file that we have created, file.txt, let's just go ahead and once again check the permissions for that file. As you could see, the owner of this group is Mansoor and the group owner of this file is also Mansoor. So let's just go ahead and change them. For changing that, we just need to use this following command. Now let's check the ownership of this file.txt once again. As you could see, the owner of the file is changed from Mansoor to Max. And then let's just go ahead and change the group owner also. Let's just again check the owner of the file. As you could see, the owner is changed to Max and the group owner is changed to student. So this is the power of change owner command, which you could change the owner and the group owner of any file or directory by using these two commands. In fact, I'm going to put all these commands that we are using now in the description, so you could just have them as a formula to change the ownership of a file. Now that we know how to change the owner, let's go ahead and learn how to change the permissions. As you could see on the permission column, the owner of this file has the privileges to read, write, but not to execute it. Same goes for the group, and the other users could only read it but cannot write into it or execute them. Let's change them. Let's say that we want to give the owner of this file the privilege to execute this file as well, and for that we need to use the chmod command. There are two ways in order to do that, but I will start with the very first one. Initially, we just have to use our chmod command. And then the reason why I put those tables on the top of the screen was for this specific example. So as we want to give the privilege or the permission of execution for Max, which is the owner of this file, we just need to write u, which is already there in the table, and then just write plus because we want to give something to Max. So plus, and then since we want to give the execution permission for Max, so just type x, which stands for the execution, and then file name. Right now, let's just go ahead and verify if Max has the execution privileges or permissions or not. Now, as you could see, that the execution privilege or the permission is also given to Max. To give you a different example on the same, let's just remove the write permission from the group. Again, we have to use the same command, sudo chmod, and for the group, as it is mentioned on the table 2, we have to write g, and since we are taking something from group, so minus, and we are taking the write permission, so just type write, and then again file name. Let's verify it. You could see that the group does not have the permission to write into this file anymore. Now there is one more way to change the permissions that we want, and that is by the numbering system. To make it very easy, just look at this chart. Just accept that the read has the 4 number assigned to it, write has the 2 number assigned to it, and execute has 1 number assigned to it. Now if I ask you what is the total of them, it is easy. 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7. So if we have 7, it means that we have all the permissions. To show you that in an example, let's change the file.txt permissions where the root user has all the permissions and group and others has no permissions. And we could do it by the following formula. Now let's just verify this. Now you could see that the owner of this file has all the permissions, but the rest of the users doesn't have any permission. The reason why, because this set of numbers you see here, 700, the very first digit is for the owner, which again has all the privileges. The second digit is for the group, and the third digit is for the other users. So let's say I want to give the user to have all the access, the group to be able to read and execute, and the others to read and write. And that is done very easy by simple mathematics. So for the group to be able to read and execute, we could see that the read is 4 and the execute is 5, so that is 5. And for others, to give the read and write privileges, we know that the read is 4 and the write is 2, so that is 6. Now let's just use them in our commands. So since we have all the permissions for the owner of this file, I will just put 7. We have the read and execute permission for the group, I'll just put 5. And we have the read and write permission for others, I'll just put 6. And then the file name. Now let's verify it. You could see that for the owner of this file, we have read, write, and execute permissions, as we have 7. And then for the group, as we give it the read and the execute privileges and 5, so we have read and execute privileges. And for others, as we give it the number 6, so it has the read and write privileges but not the execute. So this is very simple and very easy as long as you know the basics and a little bit of mathematics. That's all. Thank you so much for watching.